I will throw it immediately open to open microphone. We have our president CEO here, we have our board here, and we have our advisory council chair here. Please feel free to raise any question either on the 3 reports you just saw, on a general question for the organization you have, even just a policy question is fine, understanding that, you know, we can't, there is a proper process to go in there. So we open it up. I see we have our first Q&A.
ARIN Hughes from 6 Connect. Why is there a non-com controlling the election ballot rather than having anyone able to be on the board election ballot? Also, if there really has to be a non-com, why do the board members sit on it? I do not believe that there is a need for a non-com and would like to see either complete transparency or its dissolution.
Thank you, ARIN, for your comment. So the one thing I would address that is there's a bit of a parallel process on that right now. We've made a decision to stay within the current framework. That framework does have a nomination committee that tries to balance not just individual candidates, but also find the skills and to find a diversification of skills, background, and experiences. And that's their job, to try and find a slate of qualified candidates. As for board members, that's generally, in fact, many boards, nomination committees, the entire nomination committee boards, but I think we've for many years decided to have it so that the plurality of them is members of the community and not board members. Having said all that, it's great timing for that input because the governance working group has been told to look not just at other ISTAR organizations, but and one of the reasons we brought in a third party is just how we can potentially raise our governance and see what other best practices are occurring and what kind of selection processes would make sense to make sure that we do continue to have an open process, but at the same time ensure that we get as a board the diversity of skills, backgrounds, and geographic, among other diversity skills that have really helped the board achieve a higher efficiency in the last year. So I will take that feedback and pass it on to our governance working chair, and obviously you or anyone are welcome to contact directly with your feedback. Next question, please.
Matt Connor, do you have any details on the positions of the investments in the ARIN portfolio? And I'm sorry, I don't have an affiliation for that one.
Matt, we do not. We have a investment policy document, which is currently under review. We do not put, which gives you the asset classes that we are. I'm sorry. Actually, I will turn this over. I apologize, Nancy. You're on the call. Would you like to address this?
Sure. I'll just sort of pick up where you left off. We have an investment policy statement that details how each of the investment portfolios can be invested, and those are managed quite strictly and by the investment consultant and monitored by the finance committee. So I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, our individual investments are not published. Right. We could certainly take that under advisement. I don't think, unless John wants to weigh in, there's a little bit of that's the way it's always been. And we could certainly consider it if that transparency was required. Just noting that the individual ones do change fairly frequently with that. John.
Just to comment a bit. So we do have an investment policy that I put the link in the chat for people who are interested in it. If there's a need to talk about individual positions, we would definitely want to have a discussion about the pros and cons of that. Yeah. So Matt, if you're looking for what's the general range of how it's managed, the staff and the finance committee provide oversight to our investment manager, our investment consultant, per the guidance there, and you can see what types of investments it are, depending on how quickly we might need to have it. If you're asking for more specifics, come back with a specific question. I'd like to understand why, if you're looking for a particular investment recommendations.
So we can leave it at that. Matt, look at the document. If you're looking for more detail, jkern@arin.net. He'll be happy to take the feedback. So I see no more open Q&A. I see one hand raised. We have a few more minutes, so let's go to the hand raise. Name and affiliation as always, sir.
Rob, you should be able to talk now.
Hi, thank you. Rob Seastrom, ARIN AC. I'd like to know what guidance, if any, the board has given or plans to give to the NOMCOM regarding candidate selection for the board and AC positions. Then has the governance working group taken up the issue of issuing candidate selection guidance and whether it is proper in the future? I ask these questions because the guidance given in 2019 seemed rather constricting and resulted in the disqualification at the NOMCOM stage of at least 2 otherwise qualified nominees for the board slate.
So 2 questions there. I'll take the second one last. I would say yes, all of that is in scope, and we look forward to community feedback on that in terms of the governance working group. They have been given a very wide mandate and wide scope on that regard. The only thing I would flag a bit is that the advisory council specifically has not, at this point, I think, been put in scope just to try and keep some manageability. I think depending on how the GWG goes, we would probably then reach out to the advisory council to see if similar work needs to be done from that standpoint as well. That was just simply a matter of trying to make it a manageable function, not that there was any to that. So I put that. And similar last year, there is no current guidance on the advisory council side. I don't think the board would be looking to give said guidance. If the advisory council wanted to give said guidance, that would be a matter we would consider. The guidance we gave last year is slightly changed this year and is published in the chat right now. And we have made it fairly clear, at least our intent has been that whatever guidance we provide to the nomination committee, we do that openly. So we have been writing that letter to the nomination committee chair, CCU the community. And we always welcome feedback on that. So thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Looking for other questions or comments? Or, and if any of my other board want to chime in, please feel free. That's why we put them all here on the table. It's a little harder than usual. Normally I can just look around and see who might be wanting to speak. Give it a few more seconds here to, if people want to ask questions. Otherwise, hopefully we can return half an hour to your day, which these days. So Kathy Aronson has asked, Kathy Aronson, no affiliation, how do we give feedback to the committee? I have feedback about nominations for the board. You can contact the nomination committee chair. It occurs to me that, so that's Catherine Middleton. Her ARIN address is on the website under the board section. But as always, you can always send info@arin.net and they will of course direct it. I just always fall back on that. But please just send anything you wish to Catherine and she will take it from there. Waiting for any other questions or comments. So I'll do a last little thank you, and then if there's no questions, we'll close it off just to be in parallel. I just like to thank everyone who was involved in putting together ARIN 45. Hollis Care recently took over in the position in that after a retirement of Susan Hamlin after many years. And I'm sure she was looking forward to running ARIN 45 as a standard meeting. And then of course this got thrown. I know her and the entire ARIN staff team, her team and many of the other teams have worked many hours since the board moved this to a virtual meeting and also moved the timing. I think it's safe to say we were always hesitant to see how this would go from a participation. I know much of my chat with many of my colleagues has been, we are all pleasantly surprised at the engagement in this meeting and the feedback. So it's really good to see that this, as many I'm sure in your businesses have seen these situations turn things that you've thought of for many years trying into a reality very quickly. So I really, again, just would ask everyone to just show their appreciation to the entire ARIN staff who in challenging circumstances have pulled this off. They're all almost all remote today. praying that their individual ISPs don't take them out. And we've, knock on wood, had very good luck on that. I've seen I do see, oh yes, thank you, Owen DeLong, for the kudos in the Q&A. So seeing no other hand raises, questions, or comments that I've missed, I am going to sign off and hand it over to John to close out the meeting. Thank you.